Hi guys, hope all is well. And I have a message for you today, and this is about when being relatable goes wrong. I just want to give you guys that this is something that really needs to be released because it may seem like something that's no big deal, but this is really probably some of the worst subconscious programming that I have seen in the wild. And I'm also going to give you some examples that I have seen where kind of leaning into people being relatable can cost you everything. Now, I know it seems simple, but when you need things to be relatable, that's when you're pretty much kind of, especially with the programming over time, you lean into more of a external validation. What they have done by pushing that, because I've noticed myself, it usually takes 10 to 13 years to kind of fully reprogram bulk of society. And what they have done since, especially now, we are going into a period where an expansion of consciousness is required. You have to be operating from the heart space, actually right over it. The consciousness has to calibrate at 500. The thing is, when you are looking for things to be relatable for you, that is really programming yourself to seek that validation and needing to see yourself outside of, externally. And after time, once, you get it to the point where you won't need to see validation, after a while, that causes triggers when you don't. That blocks and puts density into the solar plexus chakra. So if a person is operating from that chakra, you're looking at like under 200. So they intentionally did that. It's so many overlapping at the same time. But with this one, it's the worst. And it doesn't even have to be anything that is physical. Just like now, I mean, you could just kind of sit back and look at how things are on social media. Say if a person gets a lot of attention, that person gets attacked. Even kind of, you could kind of look at the music industry and you could see how it went over time, where it shifted from being about talent to seeing somebody that reminds you of you, to the point where it's almost like talent is attacked. It's to the point now, if someone has things, that everything causes envy. Relationships are under attack now. It's like everything positive is under attack because people have for so long been programmed, reject I mean, think about it. Even if everything can't be relatable, because even a higher version of a person isn't going to be relatable to them. So what they have done is basically scale back the consciousness, close down neural pathways at a time where it is a requirement. So what they have done, and the biggest, that's that part of it. But let me say this: everyone isn't connected to source. Their NPCs greatly outnumber source connected beings. That ratio is like 1 to 5,000. So with all that scaling back, that subconscious programming where that constant external validation is needed, that even put source connected beings at the same point, that groupthink with the NPCs. Now, if people are vibrating at a lower frequency, this was the whole purpose of it. If people are vibrating at a lower frequency and needed everything to be relatable, these people when they are around or see a source connected person or someone that's vibrating at a higher frequency, especially now with the shifts, that is going to make them uncomfortable. That is why so many people are getting, it doesn't matter. It's, when you think about it, everything is gossip. Like with social media and like with a lot of podcasts, everything is gossip, judgments, or judging what another person does or how another person thinks. Everything is being pushed into where everyone has to think the same. Everyone has to look the same. Just everything has to be the same, and anything outside of that isn't relatable, and it gets attacked. And unfortunately, what a lot of people don't realize that what they're doing is because the people who have done the spiritual work and the shadow work, the higher you vibrate, the more of a mirror you're going to be for people who still have unhealed wounds or NPCs. So we are looking at people that have higher spiritual rankings. You have ascended masters walking on this planet. You have earth angels on this planet. So people that close to source, high rankings, these are the people that are constantly getting attacked. And it's a setup. So that is, the message is for, it is like, as far as shadow work around that solar plexus chakra, that is something that, I mean, ASAP, because, right, it's to the point now where everything is just attacks, gossip, judge. If this person is not with the status quo, with the group think, it's just constant attacks. I mean, to really, as far as being relatable, the only time that should really matter is if you're seeking services, because that's a slippery slope, especially now. Now, I'm going to give you an example of that. Like, probably the most toxic person that I know is my so-called mother. And I remember, because she has been, well, she's retired now, but she was the human resource supervisor at her job for like over 30 years. And I remember, this was probably like in the 80s. I remember her, laughing, saying that certain names, that as soon as she sees certain names, which ethnic names, that she would throw their applications away. And I was like, and she laughed about it, but when I thought about it, the names that she was talking about wouldn't be women that were her age. It'd be women that was, because she quote unquote called them ghetto names, and she grew up extremely poor herself. But this place where she worked, because it was a federal organization, she was the HR supervisor, people looked at it like a plus that it's a heavily melanated woman, she's the one in charge, not knowing that she was the one keeping the people who would relate to her the most or see her as relatable. She was the very one keeping them out. And then fast forward like 20 years after that, because when she told me that, she was just laughing. She thought it was funny. I was like, that's messed up. Just based on their names, if the name was too ethnic, she would throw their application away. She wouldn't even look at the rest, and she thought that was funny. Well, about 20 or 25 years later, this was after she retired, she had a friend. This was her friend who she had worked with at the same location for the longest. Her friend got this after she retired. She got a position that was higher than hers. She started hanging around that lady, going to her house all the time, which I thought was a little strange because I knew how envious she was. Not long after that, all of a sudden she started saying that her friend was going crazy. And I was like, what? Oh, she just said that she, she sees stuff now, something she going crazy. And